This is my ClownBlade Shaddolls. I'm using the ClownBlade engine. So here's Trick Clown and here's Thousand Blades. So that's ClownBlade right there. Trick Clown is a light attribute and Thousand Blades is an earth attribute. And so obviously I have Construct for the light, and I have Shikinaga for the earth. And then since I'm using Shaddolls, if I use two of them, obviously I can go into window. All I really need is these three and the extra deck, because I can recycle them with Emerald, as well as, you know, only got 3 Shaddolls fusions. So this is just basic little Shaddolls engine. Just Dragon, Hedgehog, because Hedgehog can help you search out fusion. And then if your opponent has a monster they summon from their extra deck, like a fusion, a XYZ, a synchro, you know, anything like that, you know, you'll be able to activate Shaddolls fusion and send from your deck to the graveyard. You know, your monsters. And you're trying to get Trick Clown and Thousand Blade to the graveyard so that you can utilize their effects together and get your Exceed summoning off of it. And you know, obviously a low rank 4 engine. Trick Clown is a spellcaster type, as well as, you know, Hedgehog and Shaddolls Dragon. Mainly Shaddolls Dragon because he's level 4, so you could use Inari Fire with that. Because while you control a face of spellcaster type monster, you can special summon it. So you can go into some nice little rank 4 plays with that. You can go into a first turn play where you summon Trick Clown, special summon Inari Fire, overlay, make Lavalva Chain. Use Lavalva Chain's effect, detaching Trick Clown, sending from your deck to the graveyard, Thousand Blade. Then Trick Clown's effect will trigger. You special summon, take 1,000. Since you took 1,000, Thousand Blade's effect triggers. He specials. Then you can overlay the 2 and go into a Planetary Knight. Set some back row in your turn during your end phase. Activate his effect to attach Constellar Knight Diamond as a material. So now he has 3 materials. Because then during your opponent's turn, you can detach all 3 materials.
I said no.
And summon a level 5 or XYZ monster on top of Planetary Knight that is not a number monster. So we have as options Cyber Dragon Nova, we have Constellar Pleiades, Artifact Randall, and we even have Constellar Knight Diamond himself, unless you use him as XYZ material, of course. If you're typically you try to keep this on the field for a little bit and protect it with back row. Then during your opponent's turn, you know, you activate his effect and go into a Cyber Dragon Nova. Then on your turn you summon Infinity, which is something you really want to get on the field, obviously. But if that's not the case and your opponent's making some crazy wombo combo type stuff and you want to stop them, you can just use Planetary Knight's effect to go into a Pleiades. Then use Pleiades' effect to disrupt your opponent's plays. Artifact Randall is a good card, a good option against normal spells and traps. Typically it would be against a spell more than a trap, because your opponent can't activate a trap in the turn they set it, right? But Artifact Randall is good to stop your opponent from playing, you know, any normal spell card, like a ritual spell card, like the Necros ritual spell cards, or a Shaddolls fusion in case you're going up against a mirror match, or just against any Shaddolls, against a Shaddolls deck, for example, right? You can negate the Shaddolls fusion by using Artifact Randall's effect. Of course, you're just turning the effect into an MST, you know, a destroy a spell trap card you control effect, but it's worth losing 1 card in order to prevent your opponent from gaining an advantage. So that there's options right there. Continuing on, Mainly use Inari Fire just so you can special and exceed and go into a quick little exceed play, especially if you already have a monster already on the field. Right? Let's say you already have Trick Clown on the field, and then your turn, you summon her Thousand Blades, and since Trick Clown is a spellcaster, you can summon Inari Fire, then overlay all the 3 into Planetary Knights and go into the Cyber Dragon play. Then of course Trick Clown and Thousand Blades effect will kick in. They'll special summon, and you know you can exceed and go into another exceed play. Like you go into Ermo, for example, and you know try recycling some of your monster cards, so you can draw into advantage, of course, but recycle your stuff so you can use them over and over again, which is always good. You don't really use them in every fire for his special summon ability when he's destroyed while face up on the field during your next standby phase. Eccentric Archfiend. It's a generic out to anything, spells and traps, out to monsters. So it's a really, really good main deck card. It's very useful to replace certain cards. In case you don't want to be too spell and trap heavy in your deck and you want a little bit more monsters, this is a good monster to throw in because it doubles as an MST, but also it doubles as monster hate. You can use it to destroy a monster, so that's pretty good. Summon it, tribute it, kill a monster. If you combine it and take out a card and add Valkult's Cannon, which is another MST, it's more of a twister because it only does face up spells and traps, and it does it during your during your end phase in the turn in which you activated this as a pendulum card. But since it's scale 2 combined with a scale 7 of Eccentric Archfiend, you obviously get the ability to pendulum summon from levels 3 all the way to level 6. So that's pretty good in any level 3 or level 4 or even all the way up to level 6 deck. So you can summon these big monsters, right? Pretty good, especially with Heretics and stuff, since most of them are level 6 and 5, right? But anyway, the fact that you can add this into the deck so that we can have a pendulum scale and also just have more back row hate, it's pretty useful. Plus he's a 2200, and with the pendulum scale you can summon copies of him. You could also summon Eccentric Kid. I was in even a scenario where I had this on the field, this this in the pendulum zone, this in the pendulum zone, and every turn I kept summoning an extra copy of Eccentric Archfiend, kept tributing and popping my opponent's monster. He set, I would just boop boop pop, set, boop boop pop. You get the idea. So that was pretty cool, the ability to just recycle the monster popping effect. Of course, if I drew an extra copy of Eccentric Archfiend, I would just pop the Archfiend in the pendulum zone to pop back row and then play my second Archfiend, and then just still keep the monster popping ability. But the ability to pop monsters every turn is pretty useful, especially when you combine it with red screens. That way they can't hurt you, so they can't do much. The best they can do is try to defend, but you'll just keep popping the defense until you draw your outs or your monsters or whatnot. Anyway, it just acts as another spell card, but it's also pretty good as a monster. It's light, so you can use it to make construct. Shaddolls Fusion, of course. Obviously, if you have a Shaddolls monster in any of the Trick Clown or Eccentric Archfiend or Thousand Blade, you can obviously go into any of the fusions. If you have 2 Shaddolls monsters, you can just go into Winda. But the main thing you want to use this typically is when your opponent already summoned a monster from the extra deck. That's when you really want to use this, because this would just give you free advantage. Give you free monsters. It'll help you thin out the deck. It'll help you get the Trick Clown and Thousand Blade combo off. Let's see. Of course, Galaxy Cyclone. You could replace this with Falco's Cannon, and so you can have a pendulum scale, as well as you can have a dark attribute monster that can help you go into window if you need to it. Also, it's a tribute monster, so in case for some reason you need to tribute one of your monsters to maybe in a Shaddolls mirror match, you can use this and tribute one of your Shaddolls monsters to get back your Shaddolls fusion and prevent your opponent from using their Shaddolls fusion and using materials from the deck, right? But again, I see Cyclone's pretty good. Target a face down card, spawn trap in your opponent's spawn trap zone, pop it. Except the turn in which this went to the graveyard, you could banish it on your main phase to pop a face up spell or trap. So obviously that's pretty good. It after you use it, you can end up using it again in the following turn, so that's always good. You can use it to get rid of the red screen if you ever need to get rid of it. You can use it to, if you have a pendulum scale, and let's say for some reason you have this on the field, and you have two of these in your pendulum zones. You want to get rid of one, you can use Galaxy Cyclone to pop one, then play your eccentric artistry, and then pendulum summon the cannon that you sent to your extra deck and summon it onto the field. And now you have the ability, to pendulum summon, right? So it has some versatilities, obviously. MST, good quick play, comes in handy if you activate your Shaddolls fusion, somebody flips over a Vanity's Emptiness or something similar to that. You can be like, nope, quick play, MST, pop it. Just is a good generic card to get rid of back row, obviously. Enough said. Red screen, very good defensive, stall for the win, right? For me, I consider it as a draw engine, but also obviously defensive. It's a good card to combo with some of my cards because it helps me set up my plays. So not much to say other than it's awesome. Wing Blast, useful against monsters or cards that can't be destroyed. Also helps slows down your opponent by making them redraw certain cards. You can mess up certain card combinations or strategies. Like, for example, if your opponent plays Shaddolls Fusion, you could obviously wait and save this and use it on one of the fusion monsters, which is always a good option. But if you have a strategy to kill their monster, then you can use Wing Blast on their Shaddolls Fusion instead. Send the fusion spell card back in their deck, and then deal with their monster with whatever you got. Say you got a Mirror Force, just use your Mirror Force to kill their fusion, or use Compulse or something. That way, whatever you got, right? Or just run them over with your monster. It depends on how you want to use it. Black Horn of Heaven is really good against pendulum summoning, but also it's useful against fusion summoning that does contact fusion like Ritual Beasts be doing, Exceed summoning, especially if you want to stop an Exciton play against Black Rose, JD, BLS, any inherent special summons, Infernoids, so on and so on. So obviously it's a really good, useful card. It's a counter trap, so you don't have to worry about somebody lancing, or somebody playing some type of combo to negate your, the effectiveness of your card. Obviously this is just a good card, right? Divine Wrath, as opposed to using Neocean, because you can, in certain scenarios, you can prevent your opponent from swarming the field or getting some good stuff on the field with Divine Wrath. Also, Divine Wrath could be used against Exciton Knight. Can be, it could be used against JD, BLS, any of the Shaddolls monsters. You can negate their effects, so that way they can't get Shaddolls Fusion, blah, blah, blah. It's good against Cyber Dragon Infinity, obviously. So it's just a really good card, and I wanted to add some more negation power in the deck, so I threw it in there and took this out. But you could do what you want. Soul Charge, of course, helps you, get into your Planetary, Cyber Dragon Infinity play a little bit faster. Can help you get into air mode so you can recycle, Exciton play, whatever you want. You could just bring back the fusions after they were defeated. Double checking, yeah, you could bring them back. Yeah, you could bring them back. But typically I use this just for the monsters in the main deck so I can go into some Exceed plays. Already talked about most of these monsters. Love Chain, obviously, so you can do that first turn play. Air mode so you can recycle. Diamond Eye Wolf, typically I use this for face down cards, like face down monsters. In case somebody has a face down monster that I think might be a threat, I use this on that. Of course, you can use it on spells and traps, so that's useful. Exciton Knight clears, really good to clear the field to help give you field advantage. Sky Blaster obviously helps you deal with monsters you don't want to go to graveyard, for example, like the Shaddolls, or against spells and traps that you don't want your opponent to have. You can get rid of them, so it's really good for those types of things. And Crazy Box in case your opponent got the skill drain. You know what I mean? You have a nice little 3000 beater or wall, whichever way you want to use it. That's the end of the deck profile.